Hello, my name is Cooke. So we're going to chat through two of the most common questions that we have received whenever we talk about prayer, wherever we are.
Different versions of, I want to love prayer, but how can I be sure that I'm doing it right?
Yeah.
And then there'll be different qualifying statements, like I feel unworthy, or am I bothering God? You know, he has so much to do. Or I don't feel his presence when I pray.
Right.
So what has been your response to that over the years?
One of my favorite scriptures really is Hebrews 11:6. He who comes to God must believe that he is. Yeah. And that's just a sentence inside the whole verse, but it always means something to me, is that when you're coming to God, you need to believe who he is for you and who he is towards you, who he is in himself. Because sometimes we get trapped into coming to God in the situation that we're in.
Okay.
And we're worried, we're anxious, our nerves are a little frayed, you know, and so we come to God in that mode, when really when we're coming to the Lord, you know, we need to come in the context of who he is for us.
Right.
I mean, for me, he's my high tower, you know, the righteous run in and they are safe. Yeah. You know, and he's our rock, he's our fortress. So when you're coming to the Lord, you know, especially in tense situations, you need to just stop and think, who is God for me? What is my relationship with him? What is the relationship he wants with me? And then, and so it's a part of the question we're always asking is, who do you believe God is for you?
Yeah, right.
You know, so that's where we stop, and that's where all our nerves and everything gets settled, and we come to a place of relaxation, of peace. And then we can actually think properly. We can be, you know, more objective about what are we actually doing right now, right here. And for me, I always love the fact that God is so loving and so patient. And I think never underestimate the patience that God has for you. Yeah. You know, because sometimes I remember with my own kids growing up, you know, they don't know what they don't know.
Right, right.
You know? And they're learning how to learn. Yeah. And that's where we are often in our relationship with God. We've learned things in the world, but now we're in the kingdom. So now we have to unlearn from the world to the kingdom, and now we're learning a different way, truth, and life. Yeah. And so God is always going to be wonderfully loving and totally patient. You know, I remember when my children were learning to talk, it's like, man alive, every conversation took 4 times longer because he was trying to decipher what was coming out of their mouth.
That's so true.
And so just sitting down, putting them on my lap and just having the love and the patience to listen. Yeah. Because the thing I didn't need to do was frighten them into not talking at all. Yeah. You know, and so when it comes to prayer, you know, those are some of the considerations that God has. He knows that we're learning a heavenly language, which is what prayer is. He knows we're learning to pray with him. And so he's patient, he's kind. Yeah. Yeah. So let him be that to you. And learn,
I like that.
Learn,
Let him be that.
Yeah, I just pleased Al. Thank you, Father. This is going to be a good day. Yeah, that's right. So let God be that for you, and then you enjoy him being that for you. And and sometimes I think, you know, we pray things like, if it be your will, when we pray that because we don't know the greatness of God's love for us. Oh. When you know who God is, your heart expands, and so does your prayer. Yeah. You know, and God is teaching us to pray bigger, not necessarily longer prayers, but bigger prayers. You know, prayers that stand out, prayers that are confident, defined, and that's why we're talking about crafted prayer. Because I think, honestly, the best prayers you're ever going to pray are the ones you write out beforehand. Yeah. You know, because they're concise, they're powerful, they're strong. You know, and so you're gonna have that sense of power when you pray it. Yeah. And that's brilliant. You know, and so knowing how God feels about us is one of the most important entry points into a time or a place of praying, because you know, we're settled. You know, we're not under the tyranny of our circumstances. We're in this place with the Lord, and I think it's important. For me, often in the early days when I was learning this stuff, I was started thinking, well, how should I be with God when I'm in these times of praying and I've got some difficult things to pray about?
Right.
Or just when I'm praying about myself and I'm overwhelmed by what I'm not, because I'm still learning how to be overwhelmed by who He is, you know? And I made a decision that I was just going to normalize prayer. And so for me, being a quintessential Englishman, I made cups of tea. It's every morning I would make 2 cups of tea.
Really?
One for me and one for the Lord. And I would have like 2 chairs like this, and I'd put His tea down there, and there was a little bowl with a small spoon and sugar.
Yeah.
Just in case, you know,
course.
He wasn't sweet enough or anything.
That's funny.
And just doing that
Yeah.
helped me normalize the whole thing. And then I just chatted, and I started to learn about conversational prayer.
Right.
You know, sometimes we like, come to prayer. And that's not always kind of worked for me. It's worked for me sometimes in some situations.
Yeah.
But when it's here at the baseline of relationship, you know, it's just helpful just to chat.
Yeah.
And my heart always felt strangely warmed afterwards, you know. So I would put on the tea kettle and make some tea and fuss around over all that and bring a little tray, and then suddenly in that process, everything settled down for me.
Yeah.
And then you would find yourself enjoying the whole experience, and then suddenly it's like an hour or an hour and a half had passed and you didn't know where it went.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
you're just still in the
you're in that zone.
Yeah.
And you went away, and that feeling, that sense of belonging went with you throughout the whole day. So I still do. I've been doing, I don't know how long I've been doing it, you know, 100 years maybe, but I still do the tea thing.